Oh, hello there, y'all. Can you guys hear me? Are we live? It looks like we're live. Haven't done this by myself, so hopefully, I have some people out there listening, and so we are live. Um, First, I wanted to let you guys know if you would like to take part, like as in be on the show with me, even during this, you can drop a message in the comments. I can, if you leave your email, I can email you the link. Also, the link for it is in the YouTube description. I just added it. So feel free to do that. You don't have to. Um, really be interested in interacting with you guys through the chat as well to see how you're doing. It's a hard time of year, so really want to do that. So what we're gonna do, we'll play a little introduction. You guys hang out for a second, and I will be right back. My name is Don Stott. I am a father who experienced estrangement from one of my adult children firsthand. Welcome to Beyond the Pain, a place where parents of estranged adult children can find peace and healing. In each episode, I hope to share stories that'll help you through some of your darkest hours. To bring this out of the shadows and stop being ashamed. Then to build you up and inspire you to love yourselves even more. So I am back, and just to let you guys know, I do see some people on Facebook. When you comment, I don't get your names. I meant to say that before. It's something to do with Facebook privacy. Um, so if you want to leave a comment and you want to interact, just say, "Hey, this is Susie." Um, and ask your questions. So I do see a Facebook user. You're very welcome. I am, like many of you know, I've been through it. Some people a whole lot more than I did. My son and I have reconciled. We're doing okay, but I know this time of year is always really hard. If any of you guys are in the Facebook group that I'm a part of, you'll see lots and lots of people joining after, say, um, Halloween time into November. It just gets more and more people. So it's a hard time of year. So I wanted to come on a few days before the big day and see how everybody was doing. Try to give you some things to think about. Hopefully, get some other people interacting with both me and each other. Um, like I said, if you want to come on, you don't have to, but if you want to come on in the YouTube description, the link is there. You can be right on the screen here with me, and we can chat. Or you can just interact with me through the chat as well. So um, I'd like to share some other people's perspectives. Those of you who watch the channel know that, um, and some positive, hopefully, what you might be doing to deal with the holidays, um, to maybe help somebody else. That's the whole idea behind the channel. So I also want to please, if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me get out to more parents out there. So that is housekeeping. So um, what I wanted to say was a couple of things to discuss. Likelihood, I know for us, likelihood is unless you're a real procrastinator and you wait until the last minute, which I know there are a lot of the things you want to do for Christmas are already done. So now you can breathe a little, hopefully, and do something for yourself, hopefully. Um, if you have chosen, and it's completely your decision, obviously, but if you have chosen to send your kids a gift, or grandkids a gift that are part of all of this, um, you've likely already done that, so you don't have to worry about that. Um, so, eh, so just this is kind of time for you. Um, what I wanted to ask is if you did send that, if you did send them a gift, or if you are planning on sending them a gift, um, do you expect an acknowledgement from that? Um, it's probably good not to. But it's hard. It's hard not to. You want some acknowledgement. That's all we really want sometimes. So it's difficult. Um, I guess one of the questions in related to that you would ask is, you know, is that why you sent it, just for the acknowledgement, or just because you wanted to give it to him? I've seen both sides of the coin. I've done both things. So I completely get it. Now, if you get an acknowledgement, does that have any kind of meaning behind it? How do you feel about that if they acknowledge and say thank you, or um, or if it opens a door? How do you feel about if you do get some sort of acknowledgement, and what do you think that means? Um, for me, um, I had to come to a point where I had to give him some of his things, and that was a little challenging. So I see, Marcia had a good let's see, suggestion. Her and her husband put together some backpacks for local homeless, some food, hats, gloves, hygiene items. We love doing it. We'll deliver some tomorrow, caring for those in need. That's great. That's really great. I often encourage people to do something for other people, whether it's homeless like this, maybe veterans. If you know people that have kids that they're maybe not as fortunate, especially if you're able to help provide, for other people, if you're in a position to do that, then, by all means, I would suggest doing that. That's great, Marcia. Thank you. Um, and that kind of goes into my next point is, what are you doing for Christmas? Um, my wife and I, um, my wife and I, the past few years, instead of doing a traditional meal, because it's usually just us, not because the kids don't want to be around, just because they're off doing their own thing. We don't have any hard and set family traditions, so we order Chinese food. They're open that day, most of them. If you like Chinese food, that's certainly a great option. So, hi, Julie. I see your message. Let's show you. So, Julie says her son strange 2.5 years now. He's returned every card I've sent. So every Christmas, birthday, I fret over what to send or not. I've heard that he's given me his answer. Don't send anything. Another line of thought is keep sending so he knows you're here and the door is open. What's the best thing to do? That's tough. Personally, I think if you can handle the rejection, then, and that makes you feel, um I don't want to say just better, but just if that makes you feel more connected, maybe, um then do that. The fear that I have, and it happened to me, is that I do these things, or that it hurts my own mental health, because then I'm expecting him to do this. I want this acknowledgement. I want to fix things, and sometimes, most of the time, you can't do it. So it just kind of depends on your state. And what's right today might not be right tomorrow. So you may choose to do it today, and then next special day that rolls around, you may say, okay, I've had enough. I can't do it anymore. So, and that's okay. So, not to be vague, but it's really very personal. What works for one person may not work for you. I would say, just try to look at it from both sides, and what you're going to be okay with. You don't want to put yourself in a really bad mental state just because of that. I hope that makes sense. Oh, Suzanne. So what are you gonna cook? You say you're gonna cook for your hubby. Do you have something special in mind? And then I see your other comment that you've had no contact for 7 months and no gifts. So does that work well for you and your husband? Um, like I said, I know everybody's a little different. Some people do, some people don't. And it's all kinds of shades in between, it seems like. Um, so like I said, my wife and I, we do, oh, okay. Turkey and mashed potatoes, very traditional, very good, very good. What time's dinner? Just kidding. We, like I said, we've been doing the Chinese for the last few years. It's just us. Um, we don't really have, like I said, major traditions. And that's right. Suzanne, trying to stay positive. That's all you can do. I mean, you're going to have really good days. Well, maybe not really good days. Some of you will have really good days. Some of you will have okay days. Some of you are going to have bad days. I always try to look at it, and I try to tell people, if you have more, even if it's one day, one more good day than bad days, one more good hour than bad hours, if it's that granular, try to think of it that way, and then try not to say, oh my gosh, I'm having a bad day. I've had a couple of good days, and now I'm having 5 bad days. Try to just stay a little ahead of it, I think. And I know most of you know this, because most of you have probably watched plenty of times any of my videos, and whatever. Just remember that I am not a licensed therapist. I am just like you guys. So just wanted to throw that out there. Marcia, I see your comment. You said our counselor said if they ask for no contact, then don't send them anything. But if they did not ask for zero contact, then you can send things. We're having Chinese too. Great. That's a great point. And I've heard that many times. So if they do, especially if they specifically say, I don't want contact, then any kind of contact is probably just going to aggravate them. It's not going to help on probably 95% of the cases. I pulled that number out of there. But it's not going to help. And it's probably going to make it worse. So that is definitely something to consider. I know some people would say, well, how can it be worse? They don't talk to me now. I don't know anything. It can be worse. There's been plenty of instances of people that I've talked to over the past few years, both privately and on the podcast, where the kids will take legal action and cause you other angst. So it definitely could be worse. Um, so yes. So I assume you're talking about the um, not contacting them if they've requested it. So I think that's always good. You could spend that time, the things you want to do, like I was saying earlier, with for other people. You know, if you have the means, and I didn't, but if you have the means, help other families. Even if you don't spend time with them. I'll tell you a quick little story. When my son and I were estranged, um, we became friends with my wife and I became friends with a woman who um, had a young daughter. She was having issues with her biological father, and we kind of adopted her. She was our youngest child's age, and we kind of not formally, obviously, but we became like her second set of parents, and that did me a lot of good because I could see that you know see that someone put value into some of the things that I had to say, and to this day she still calls me dad, and we talk all the time. So there are things you can do. Uh, uh, Obviously, they don't replace your own children, but it's just something I think to help maybe focus you. Um, so I'm not sure who was asking. You're from Facebook. Did you ever feel angry at Christmas and the holidays? I am, and I know a lot. It's not fair to the other kids of the family. How do I get through these feelings? Answer your first question. I think most of us can say yes to that. I know I was angry at all kinds of things. We didn't have a big um, religious component to our upbringing, to our raising our kids. We enjoyed Christmas. We did the things you do, but um, as far as the anger, I had anger at a lot of things, and it affected every facet of my life. So I think in that's pretty normal. I think as long as it's not, in my opinion, as long as it's not a, uh, dis destructive anger, like you're doing something to hurt yourself or someone, then you have to let yourself experience it, especially if you have a way to express that safely and, um, like I said, so you're not hurting anyone. Um, so another Facebook user, I don't know if you're the same one. Not having to deal with the attitude of a strange daughter's spouse is a bonus at holiday time. Well, there is that. Um, I think some of us would take that just to have them around, but um, sometimes I've heard some pretty horrendous stories about the spouses and how they treat, you know, you as the parent. So, um, and as far as the other user, how to get through those feelings, that's really hard. I would say go through you know, um, the grieving, the steps of grieving. I can't think of the exact word it is right now. There's all kinds of different emotions to do with that. And find something, and it sounds so cliche, but find something to focus yourself on, and maybe that can help you, work through those. If you don't have a counselor or a therapist, then I suggest, researching that. I'm not affiliated with anybody, but I have heard that the BetterHelp.com has um, good options. Somebody that's familiar with family estrangement um, is going to be best, I think, because many aren't. Um, there's also on my YouTube channel in the community tab, there, thank you, Stages of Grief. There is a list of resources. There's some books you can get if you don't have already, and there's a couple of different people you can reach out to. The moms, um, um, her name just left me, but she's on there. So if you take a look at that, that might give you some resources. They are coaches, so life coaches basically, but they don't all call themselves life coaches, but they're they help other people get through this. One of them is moms specifically, and then there's a couple other people on there too. So I see Suzanne. Yes, I work with impoverished people at work every day, thinking of beginning a mentor for a child. Have a lot of love to give. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And I started this. This was originally just an audio podcast, and did that for about a year. Had a couple dozen episodes, I think, on there. And then I think it was the following year, I started this YouTube. Might have been 2 years. Started this YouTube channel. I wanted to be able to get out to more people, because I know. Thank you. Yes, Marcia, Sally Harris. I wanted to not be. I wanted everyone to not go through those beginning stages of it, especially when you think you're the only one. You all thought that. You're the only parent that is going through this, and you're the most awful parent in the world. Um, and and it's just not true. It's just not true. Um, so I wanted to try to head some of that off for some of these people, some of these parents. Um, and get out there to more people. I have currently a little over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I've seen some of the subscribers from both YouTube and the audio version of the podcast, because I still do both. People all over the world, all over the world. So matter of fact, fun story. If you guys have listened to the podcast long enough, you may know this, but if you caught this episode, or me talking about it, but the music that I chose when you're starting any kind of YouTube channel, whatever, you know, you want to dress it up, make it a little, put a little music behind it, whatever, just to make it look a little more professional. So I found this music. You guys heard it if you were here in the beginning. And normally you reach out, or you pay for that stuff. There's paying, and then there's royalty-free music. So I found this music that I really liked, just kind of spoke to me, and I reached out to the artist. I emailed him and said, "Hey, I'm just a little bitty channel. I can't afford to pay you, but I really like this song. Would you be okay if I used it with my podcast? And then once I'm there, I would certainly not mind, paying you." Um, he emailed me back right away. His he and his son have an estranged kind of relationship, so he knew exactly what I was talking about. He was more than happy, and and the rest is kind of history. So it's like, how how ironic, or how ironic's not the right word, but how interesting that of all the music I could have chosen, that is done by a gentleman who uh, has been estranged from his child. So I thought that was an interesting story. Is there any data on how many children are choosing not to contact? I think it was the only one, like you mentioned. Other people have asked that, and I've heard other people talk about it. Data is such a hard thing to come by, I think, because it just depends on who's doing the study and who's gathering the information. Yeah, synchronicity for sure, Marcia. Um, it just depends on who's doing the study and where it's coming from. It can all be relative. So, not that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are some people who have done, some research on it, but no, I don't. And yeah, like I said, all of us thought that, at least I think, everyone that I've talked to, every single one that I've ever talked to, and I've done interviews with, we've all thought that it was just us, and it's also generational. I did do an episode last year, I think, about generational estrangement. Um, Someone had suggested that to me, because it seems like a new thing. Um, but I think it's not necessarily new. I think there's putting a name to it might be why it's new. But someone suggested it for me to do a thing about a family, a generational estrangement. And I got to even looking back in my own family when I did that, and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, so my dad was estranged from us. My brother was estranged from my mother, and then this and this and this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's really rampant through everywhere. I have a friend who she is estranged from her kids, but she is also an estranged child from her parents. You know, it happens for various reasons. Sometimes the kids are just being jerks. Sometimes they do have valid reasons. I believe my friend, the things that she's explained, those are the choice she had to make, for herself. So I know a lot of us can't fathom that, and frankly probably don't want to hear that, but sometimes it is true, that's, I think, what they have to do. Um, and even parents choose to do that. Um, I don't know that I could, but I certainly wouldn't judge anybody that did, just because everybody's different. So, um, anyway, so I would also say that in these next few days, whatever kind of, and it sounds again so cliche, but whatever brings you joy, whatever makes you feel, either feel better or can help you, or can help you just cope. Um, Sandy, Scottish Highlands definitely has a generational aspect. Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that in particular, only because I found in my lineage, is that the right word? I think that's the right word. That my family's somewhere from the Scottish Highlands. Um, so, but yeah, definitely. And sometimes I think it is somewhat cultural, different cultures, do things different ways. So does that play into it? If you're not towing the line, so to speak, from, um, what they think you should be doing culturally, then does that, you know, play into it? Probably, probably. So, Suzanne, my mom and I were estranged for 13 years. She was bipolar and off her meds. I protected my estranged daughter from her when she was little, afraid my estranged daughter and I will be estranged for many years too. Yeah, unfortunately, it does seem to happen like that. But I guess, you can take some comfort in the fact that, I mean, you did do what you needed to do protecting your daughter. I mean, that she may or may not ever acknowledge that, but hopefully she will. Hopefully she will one day. You came around. I'm guessing by the way you said this that, you know, that you guys repaired, maybe? Maybe I'm reading it wrong. But, hopefully she'll come around. Hopefully she will. Um, I like it. Whoever this was, on Facebook, sometimes you have to live from a distance so you yourself can move on. Love from a distance, she meant. Um, yeah, you do. That's very difficult for some parents, um, and some people, but if you can take a step back and like a lot of people have said on my channel, and I've said, you can't fix you can't fix the relationship all by yourself. You can fix anything that you may have to fix about you, but for the for them, they have to do whatever work they need to do. And hopefully those things can coincide at some point, but you certainly can't um, make them come back. You can't make them see your way. I know when I was going through it, no matter how I tried to sugarcoat or, say just the right things to them in a text or an email or whatever, it was never right. If I ever got responses, responses were not good. So you definitely do have to um, live and love from afar sometimes. That's good, Suzanne. I'm glad. I'm glad. So, you know, I've heard of some parents going a couple of decades, not to, upset anybody, and then I've heard, a few years and everything in between. So it just really depends. But I say again, like I was saying before, figure out if you have anything to work on. I mean, we all have something to work on. It may or may not have contributed to your estrangement, but we all have something to work on. None of us are perfect. So um, do some reflection. I would say Sally Harris is a good example for especially for moms. She works specifically with moms. Um, and she she's great. I have her on an episode. If you want to go back and watch that, just search through my channel. You got to get a feel for her and see what you think. But she's definitely a good resource. So someone asked, well, you are very welcome. I'm glad. So you're part of our Facebook group. That's great. You know, be the parent I need to be and joy too. That's so wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that. Someone else is asking how long me and my son have been reunited. Um, let's see, we were separated for 2.5 years. It was the summer of 2016 through almost the summer of 2019. It was September 2016 through May of 2019. We started talking, um, and then of course in May of 2019 we started talking. Things were really good. We were talking a lot. We worked out some things, and then 2020, the year of what, hit, and I don't want to say it because they might censor me, but between that and the um and the political stuff that year, we had some tensions, we'll just say, and we didn't see things the same way. Who does? Um, and so like I said, we had some tension that whole year, really for a couple of years. He didn't estrange again, but he pulled back a bit. Um, and then just this past year in March, my mother passed away. And about a week or so after my mother passed away, I got the most random message from my son, and um, it said something to the effect of, you know, I don't know what's changed, but I feel like we're good. Everything's fine again. Everything's like it used to be. I looked and I'm like, we weren't having a conversation. We weren't engaged in anything. I looked at it. I'm like, I showed my wife. I'm like, are you reading this? Oh my gosh, what? I don't know how a lot of you feel about this, but I personally feel like my mother had a hand in that, because she was very not she was upset that it upset me. And so I feel like she helped out with that in her passing. I know that probably sounds a little far out to some people, but I believe that could happen. So anyway, I hope I didn't ramble too much and answer your question best I could. Um, oh, well, we don't currently walk on eggshells, no, but I did for a while. I did, for that very fear. And I can't say that it never crosses my mind now, but I do think about what I say a little more. Um, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So, um, Sandy says being able to communicate with others. And I don't remember what we're referring to, but yes, that's important. Um, so let's see. Another Facebook user. Don't you feel the condition of our world today plays a big part in this too? Seems like the kids are so different today than when we were children, very entitled and selfish. I do see that, some, um, but somebody else has also reminded me when we were doing, because a lot of people, even me, and even me now, sometimes think that sometimes social media plays a part in it. Sometimes, the state of the world, sometimes politics or religion or whatever, definitely plays a part in it. But I don't know if it's really all that new. I think it's just different. I think it's more accessible. It's easier to cut somebody off now because we're used to having access to people. You could either text them or you can call them or you can email them or message them on Facebook or whatever. Anybody that does all those other socials, the Instagram and all that jazz, I don't really do that. But so we're used to having instant access now. Years ago, in the 70s, even in the 80s, you didn't have that. If your child moved across the country, well, you just didn't talk to them unless you called, and calling then was more expensive. So I don't know. I do feel like there is a certain amount of entitlement, um, just in the younger generation in general, but I don't know if that's. I don't think it'd be fair to just blame that. But I think it has a hand, certainly. So Marcia says the biggest thing that changed for me over these past 3 years is that I truly have learned to love myself and believe that I'm a beautiful being. Helps me to love my daughter unconditionally. That is awesome. Back to what the other, and maybe it was Marcia or maybe it was someone else, said about loving from a distance. You know, but if you don't, and it sounds, again, I keep saying cliche, but it sounds cliche, but if you don't love yourself, then it's going to be really difficult for you to love someone else unconditionally, like Marcia's talking about here. So, very, very, very good point. So, Suzanne, So my estranged daughter was seeing a counselor. Do you think the counselors today encourage kids to cut off? I have certainly heard um, other parents do believe that, and I don't want to say all of them for sure. There are better, just like doctors. There are better doctors that listen to you than others. There are better counselors that listen to you than others, and I've heard a bunch of people say that, some of the counselors are very young. They don't have families, they don't have kids, so unless they're I don't think you can learn. I mean, you can learn about this from a book, but I don't think you can really learn about it, all the details from a book, it's so nuanced. So, I have heard that some other people say that that's one of the first thing the therapists and the counselors say is to, "Oh, they're toxic, you need to cut them off." Now that's what they're told. I don't know what the actual real story is. So it's hard to say for sure. Um, but I do think that's definitely a possibility. I think it happens. I just don't want to blame them all for it. You know what I mean? So, um, and if you guys go to, again, some counselors are better than others, some doctors are better than others. If you guys want to go to a therapist or a counselor or something like that, or even a life coach, try them out. If they aren't very good or they don't tell you what you think you need, then you move on to another one. If they don't have experience with this and you don't feel like they're listening to you, then go on to another one. You can't help what they're doing with their counselor, unfortunately. I wish, in a way, and I kind of understand why they can't do it, but I wish in a way when the kids went and said, "Oh, my mother or father is this, this, and this," that they could get them together, suggest a family counseling. And maybe they do, and the kids don't want anything to do with it. But I wish they would do that and then give that a shot um, before they say you need to cut them off. Do the counselors do that already? They might. Um, Unfortunately, we'll never know because it's their personal business. The strange kids. So unfortunately, we will never know that. But that's again why I think, working on you, whether or not they come back, you know, is the only thing you can do. And think about it this way too. This was brought up to me by someone a couple of years ago that if I'm working on me and I'm happy with me, if they decide to come back, that's that's a bonus and they will see that I am a different person, you know. If they don't decide to come back, you're still a different person. You still worked on the issues you needed to work on because I think if any of those issues you have are affecting your family life, it's potentially affecting other things too. You just, you just may not realize it. So again, that's just my personal opinion. So I would also recommend, I don't remember where, if I mentioned this or not, but, um, you know, over this next few days, try to do something for yourself, even if it's just taking your own happy butt out to a meal, a nice meal, whatever you consider nice. Especially if, um, if you don't have any other family close or you're not, or if you are, well, if you don't have any other family around. So, be kind to yourself. Did you potentially make some mistakes? Of course you did. You know, did you deserve to be completely cut off? I can't imagine it, unless I've always maintained if a parent was physically, emotionally, or otherwise abusive, that's a different ball game. But if you just hurt your child's feelings, then I don't feel like you deserve this. Now, I'm not in everyone's situation. Obviously, none of us are. So and perception is different too. I'm sure when your kids were growing up, you know, I know my daughter, my youngest daughter, who's never been estranged, but um, she would say things about, "Oh, you always yell at me about that." I could probably count on two fingers the amount of times I've actually yelled at her. Actually yelled. So their perception is different than ours. Just like ours is different from theirs. They'll tell us that we did something years ago. We said something. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember that. So, but they do. So, or they say they do. Anyway, if there's any traditional Christmas movies or shows that you watch, uh, I'd be kind of uh, careful to do it. Um, Depending on how it makes you feel, it could make you feel good. Some people like to get that, you know, that nostalgic Christmas movie feel, and if that's what you want, go for it. If you think it's going to make you depressed because of the kids, if it's just going to do nothing but remind you of the kids and make you upset, then maybe find Die Hard as a Christmas movie. That's what they say. I've never actually watched it, but find something else to do. Find something else to watch. Try not to keep yourself wallowing in it as best you can. And I'm not discounting your feelings at all. I'm just saying, um, try to distract yourself. So, yes, Marcia, that, their perception is their reality, so it may or may not be accurate, but that's what they think. Just like that's what we think. We don't think we did this or this, but you know, it's just everyone's different perception, I think. And yes, I think that's great. I've never been a big, exerciser. Is that a right word? I don't know. But I think it would be very important if you're able to do that, to exercise or get out and do stuff outdoors, um, or go somewhere where there's an activity indoors. If you're in extreme cold or extreme heat, just stay busy, stay active, I think is the point. If you're lump on a couch, you're going to do nothing but think of them, especially right now. So, um, you could make yourself a new tradition, whatever that is, something you've never done before. Like us, we did when the kids were younger, we did all of the um, traditional meals and all of that. And we just decided not to do that anymore. Wasn't have anything to do with the estrangement. It just wasn't why, we weren't needing to. So try to do something completely different. And I've heard a lot of people say, I just don't want to celebrate Christmas. That's okay, especially if it's new, the estrangement, or especially if you're having just a really hard time. Don't put that pressure on yourself. You don't have to do it. I get it if you have other kids, especially younger kids that expect to do that. If that's the case, then just do the minimum of what you need to do, what you feel like you need to do for them. But if you don't have any other kids in the house or don't have anybody that, you need to do it for, then don't. You have a choice. So, you know, I want to thank everybody. It's been almost an hour. I want to thank everybody for participating. Um, it's really great. Like I said, I wanted to just come on and talk a little bit and let you guys know that you're not alone. You can always feel free to reach out to me. I also have on my channel um, a link where if you wanted to chat one on one, you can do that. Um, I can, you can set your own appointment. There's a link to set an appointment with me if you choose to do so. I'm not charging anything for that. So I just feel like this time of year is just terrible for us. So you're not alone. Um, I will ask you to do one bit of homework, and obviously you don't have to tell me you did it or not did it, but I want you for one day between now and Christmas to do one thing, anything that's just for you. Even if you have a spouse, even if you have a spouse, do something that's just for you. Um, it's important. Someone asked me, matter of fact, the adopted daughter I told you about, she very smart young lady. She asked me a while back, what does Don like to do? I'm like, uh I don't know. I've always been about my kids and my family and my wife, whatever. I don't know. um so I'm going to challenge you with the same thing. Nothing for your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, your siblings, your parents. Do something for you. Um, I'd love for you to drop me a message if you care to, just to say, hey, I went for a run, or I went to this special movie, or whatever. Saw a friend I haven't seen in years. Something. So something for you. So I appreciate all right, Sandy, cool. Challenge accepted. I like it. And Suzanne, you're very welcome. I started this, like I said earlier, I started to do this out of a labor of love, and because I didn't want everyone to be going through the same things I was, especially in the beginning. So it's just important to me to carry on. So gonna do some self-care, spoil myself with massage. That's a great idea. In a former life, I was a massage therapist, but that didn't really work out. So anyway, I'm gonna leave you guys with that, and please take care of yourselves. Um, oh, hi, Karen. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're just wrapping up. But if you ever want to, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is here, and in the YouTube channel, there's a link that you can that you can email me, or you can schedule an appointment to chat. So feel free to do that. Thank you for joining again. If anybody could, if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel. It just gets it out to more parents. YouTube's algorithm is weird. The more interaction there is, the more it pushes it out and suggests it to people. Therefore, the more parents see it. So I appreciate it. And oh, Dee, I'm sorry you're late too. We're just getting ready to wrap up, but feel free to email me if you'd like. And if you want to share your story, or if you want to, and this will be available after it finishes shortly. It'll be available to view on YouTube. So don't worry about that. But if you want to email me or send me a message or anything, feel free to do that. Take a listen to the video. It's about almost an hour long total, and then like I said, you can reach out to me. That's great, Martian. Set new intentions for 2024. Perfect. So attainable intentions too. So something you can control. I think that's the key with all of it. So anyway, that is all for now. I may have, you're welcome, Dee. I may have another guest shortly after the holidays. I did a video a week or so ago. It posted last week with Ashta. And she may have we may do a live like this too. So that's the very last video that I posted. So if you guys want to take a look at that, she's a very interesting lady. I think she has some good insights. So anyway, reach out if you need me, and I will be here. You guys try to have a good next week or so. Whatever your holiday plans are, try to have a good one. And like I said, if you need me, please reach out. All right. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you as well, Dee. And I will see you guys later.